Have you been getting your shopping list ready for a potential holiday rally? Well, you're in the right spot. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan. Always a pleasure doing these 6 p.m. videos. Now, I've got 2 live streams coming up. We're doing a live stream on NVIDIA's earnings at 5 p.m. So I had to record this a little bit earlier. So tonight, just in case, and I mean, let's be honest here, if there's any catalyst that can get the market to act together, it's going to be NVIDIA's earnings, right? So we'll see if Jensen Huang can rally the bulls for a potential holiday rally. If that happens, I'm going to put 30 stocks on your radar. We're going to jump into the VectorVest 7 system. We're going to harness the power of the VectorVest 7 system so we can find low dollar, undervalued winning trades. If this is something that you're interested in, stick around and let's get started. Now, over the last week or so, you've probably noticed I've done more market timing style videos, even gold, right? I've been hedging. The reason why, BSR and MTI. These are 2 proprietary market timing indicators letting us know that the market has not found its bottom yet. It might be close, but it's not quite in yet. And we're seeing that play off, right? If anything can save the market at these levels, it's going to be NVIDIA. So just in case we get a blast off day come tomorrow or the following day, see some confirmation, hey, these are some stocks you might just want to put on your radar. But to the flip side of that, if the market doesn't like what NVIDIA has to say after the bell today, guess what? The MTI just entered the 0.6s. The BSR just entered 0.2s, saying that the market really just started looking for a bottom. So we'll find out if the bottom is in. This holiday season, kick off your investment journey on the right path. Join VectorVest today. Just 99 cents gives you 30 days access to the world's most powerful investment software. Just go to vectorvest.com/YT to take advantage of the special offer. And again, if there's any kind of inspiration in the market, it could definitely be NVIDIA. So tonight's presentation, I've got 30 stocks for you. I'm going to go through these real quick. But tonight, we're using Unisearch. This is where we can filter out the database. We're tracking close to 10,000 stocks here at VectorVest. So if you want to save yourself a lot of time, learn to utilize Unisearch. So tonight, we're looking for stocks under $10. In addition to that, the stock must be less than our valuation. Our valuation is not a price target, just what we feel the stock is intrinsically worth. Now, as far as my industries that I selected here, if I click on this and click on selected industries, I did all more speculative tech style industries. See, aerospace and defense, went down here to computer sectors, networks, memory, things like that, electronics, semiconductors. I did financial, crypto, SPOCs, internet, gaming, and even more industries, but these are industries that can typically be overvalued. So the market pullback, we might just find some good deals in this list. So let's get right into it and break down these 30 stocks. So to break down the charts here, the green line, this is our valuation. The blue and red line, 20 and 40-day moving averages. This thin line here, 200-day, typically don't look at it, but I am going to look at the 200-day in tonight's presentation because a lot of these stocks have been pulling back. You see this stock here just broke its 200-day right at a level support. And below that, we have RT relative timing. This is our trend indicator, giving us a sense if the trend is in favor of the bulls or the bears. And down below, we have our forecasted earnings per share. Now, RT relative timing doing a great job keeping us on the right side of the trade. You could tell troubled waters were ahead when RT crossed below 1 in unfavorable territory. I mean, the close that day was $13 a stock, now $8.35. This stock, I do like it that it's undervalued. It does have a sell rating right now. Now, as far as any kind of level to look out for on this position, look at this gap fill here. We came all the way back down. We're now in the gap. The bottom of this gap would be about 748. Currently, we're trading at 8.35. This could be a level to look for a pivot, and the stock is undervalued. Earnings per share is rising. Nice stock to look at. Here we have XIACF. The stock now becoming undervalued. See a sell rating on the position right now. So we are getting some value here. We value the company at $6.32. Let's get RT back above 1 in favorable territory. Just a lot of momentum to the downside right now. Earnings per share is rising. So fundamentally, the stock, not too bad. As I scroll down to the next position here, We've got the Lenovo Group. Not a big fan of this one. The stock really just hasn't moved in the last year here. The stock is undervalued. We've got the stock closer to $2, but earnings per share also not very thrilling. And RT's below 1, just not that fond of that position. Now here's Nokia. Look at the value rising here. Momentum, a lot of momentum around this position. Price action right now hugging right on that 40-day moving average. See if we can get a pivot off. This might be a good dip as well. We look at this prior swing high here around 580, potentially look down there for a pivot. Price action just over $6 right now, but the stock rising, earnings per share, value rising, not a bad undervalued low dollar position. Next up, we've got apps. This is Digital Turbine here. The value still is rising. Look at price action, though. It looks like it's going to break that 200-day. If you're in this position, be defensive right now. Let's get that RT back above 1 before considering this position. But again, undervalued position trading at $4.58. We value the stock just over $8. Rising forecasted earnings per share. Not a bad stock. Now here's Motable. Look at this, values on the rise, price actions rising, very gappy, low volume stocks. I wouldn't buy a lot of shares of this, but look, stock's trading at $260, undervalued. We value the stock at $307. But if we look at the earnings per share, it actually has dropped into negative territory. So I'd say skip this one for now. Next up is Immersion Corp. I am not liking the price action I see here with value falling. Not one I want to put too much effort behind, but here's a stock. Look at this MTN Group. The valuation is just rocketing now over $12. The stock around $9.84. Looks like some consolidation over the last week or two, but look at the earnings per share as well. Forecasted data on the rise here. Sales growth rate, 23%. Growth rate earnings, 25%. Not a bad stock to consider. Here's another stock, ELTK. Look at the gap down, sell recommendation in place. The stock now becoming a value play here. You can see the stock was trading at a premium, earnings per share on the rise. Let's let the dust settle, but hey, maybe some value opportunities might come in the near future, but a lot of momentum to the downside. Now here's a stock you might just want to keep on your radar, Real, RF Industries. Look at this, currently trading at 617. The 200-day moving average, 597. See if we get a little pivot here. If we get a little pivot, hey, my first price target is going to be right around that 20-day EMA, that blue line here, which is around $7. He's around $7.05. It might not be a bad trade setup as well. Look at the value rising. Earnings per share, not a bad stock. I see some trade opportunities and honestly some, potential investment opportunities. Now, I will say with these stocks, you're not getting much relative safety. The highest stock in the list had a relative safety of 1. That's a neutral rating. Again, these are under $10. So, and they're in pretty speculative spots. A lot of tech, a lot of aerospace and defense. So not going to get a lot of safety. That's why I aimed for undervalued stocks. Sales growth rate, 58%. Earnings growth rate, 22%. Phenomenal stock here. It looks like it's making its way back down to the 200-day as well. Otherwise, might be able to find a level of support in this zone, which looks like we did have some buyers here with this bottom wick as of yesterday, right at the top of the zone. RT is below 1, so the trend is in favor of the bears. So don't be in a rush to buy this position. But I like this earnings per share clawing its way back. Not a bad stock. Here is TRVG. Look at this price action on the decline, was overvalued, but now we've got some value opportunities here. But I need to see that RT relative timing tick up a little bit more. I do like the fact that I see a bullish divergence here. A bullish divergence in this case would be when price action is going down, but the underlying technical indicator is trending higher during that same time frame. The stock trending lower during that time frame, however, RT trending the opposite way. So this is an interesting trade here. I'd put this one on your radar. This might not be a bad one to look at in the future. Now here's YEXT. Stock not doing a whole lot, pretty range bound over the last few weeks here. You see RT relative timing slow further into unfavorable territory. Earnings per share is rising. Stock's undervalued from an investment perspective. I like it. But let's get some momentum to the upside before pulling the trigger. TKC, not a big fan of this stock. Price action just going to the downside. Very gappy as well. I'm going to skip this stock. Here's AACAY. Another gappy position. Undervalued RT below 1. So because of this gappiness, I'm going to skip this position as well. Here's Assure Software. Undervalued position, but price action weakness below the 200-day. Not a big fan of this position. Let's see if we can do some fishing here. Here's one, BOSC, undervalued. Look at value just rising and rising. Price action on the decline. Maybe Google it, see what's causing the sell-off here. But look at price action coming close to this 200-day. See when we get a pivot off of this 200-day might be a nice trade as well. But again, with this steep sell-off, I would do a little bit more research, see what's going on with this company. But I like the valuation. However, the earnings per share down below, not too thrilling. Here is Lux Experience. You can see the stock was overvalued trading at a premium, but look at valuation ticking up here. Earnings per share on the decline, but still positive. As long as price action stays above this 200-day moving average, I'm not going to be too concerned here. But with sales growth rate, 178, earnings growth rate, -8. Not a bad stock, but I need a little bit more confirmation before pulling the trigger on this position. Now here's Nano Dimension. Let's zoom into a 3-month time span. The value is starting to tick up, but price action is getting some rejection. I want to see price action above these moving averages so I get a little bit more momentum behind the trade here, but not a bad stock. Here's gambling.com. Let's go back out to a year chart. Value is declining, price is declining. Not going to be too interested in that position. Here's Astrotech. The value popped up, but is now starting to tick lower. Let's see if value can stay above $6, and let's get price action above at least the 20-day. The momentum is clearly to the downside here. RT below 1. This is exactly what we don't want to see with value on the decline and price action on the decline here. Here's another stock, Adtran Holdings. Price action broke the 200-day, but look at the value here. The market could be mispricing this one. We're getting some value opportunities. Earnings per share also on the rise, just waiting for the technicals to become more favorable. Now here's Canaan. The stock currently trading at 96 cents. I know a lot of people have talked about the stock on the channel. Look at this 200-day pivot here. Not getting much follow through from that pivot, but look at the value starting to rock and roll. Earnings per share starting to rock and roll. Not a bad stock. I've talked about it on the channel before. I had a nice trade set up here. I see a lot of momentum to the downside. Anything under $1, probably not a bad, but breaking that 200-day, I do see a nice pivot level, which might have been the cause. You can see right here, right at these swing highs, nice pivot off of that. We'll see, but I kind of like this trade setup in the making here, as long as the market can get its act together. But that's why we need green lights in the color guard before just pulling the trigger, right? You know, right now we're catching a lot of falling knives in the market. Be careful of that. Here is ARRY. With the pullback in the market, look at this. Brought it right back to the 200-day, bringing some value opportunities. Earnings per share starting to rise here. So RT below 1. So we either need an RT to get back above 1, or we're going to pull the trigger before RT getting back above 1. I at least want to see the sales of the market behind me. I don't want to be buying these stocks with RT below 1. And then the market is just, giving me nothing but red lights, right? That's a recipe for disaster. So I either need the market to get its act together or at least the stock, right? Now here's ETCC. This is a defense company. The value starting to tick up, and look at the price action here. I've looked at the stock before, broke above my resistance level. Now it's at 145, right around the 200-day. Phenomenal stock here. We'll see what happens with this position, but I do like what I'm seeing so far. Now this one, not a lot of volume, so I'm going to skip that position. Here's another one where the value is just falling, price is falling. I'm not going to catch that falling knife. Here's BTM, Bitcoin Depot. The value, this stock was on my radar. I never pulled the trigger on it. Because it broke the 200-day moving average a few weeks ago as well. I did have a zone here. See if we had, a nice pivot off the bottom of the zone, which we never got. And look at the value just falling. The stock now currently at $1.70, so I'm not going to catch that falling knife either. Here's another stock, ASST. Look at this one. Value did nothing. The stock did a whole lot, so clearly there's some retail trader presence here. But look at the stock now. With the pullback, now the stock, the value jumped to $1.50. This might not be a bad one. We're getting some retests of the 20 on the bottom end, so obviously the bearish manner. RT's not going to, this is a very speculative trade. So unless you're a trader and active or aggressive in nature, stay away from this one. But that value ticking up, it's got my interest for sure. Here is CBAC Energy. Values on the decline, price action doing nothing. Hey, is what it is. So I just wanted to show you how you can utilize Unisearch to really put some fish on your radar. It was that quick, right? It took about 10 minutes. We found 30 stocks meeting the criteria I was looking for. And of those 30 stocks, I would say maybe 7 or 8 really struck my interest, right? So I'm going to put those in a watch list and I'm going to let the market come to me. I'm not going to, try to jump ahead of the market, right? That's how you can wreck a portfolio real quick. So hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. If you did, hit the like button. And if you're new, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow evening. Good night.